I'll be using 2 note cards for my speech. Living expenses such as food, utilities, and housing should not exceed 70% of your net income. And credit grantors prefer that only 90 to 95% of your income be committed to all expenses. Stated by Deborah McNaughty, founder of Professional Credit Counselors. Total consumer debt in 2008 stood roughly at $2.4 trillion in the United States, an increase of over 40% since 1998. Also keep in mind, this figure doesn't include real estate debt. What this means is that there is $8,000 for every man, woman, and child living in the United States. I've observed many issues with the people around me and their struggles with revolving credit. Because of this, I have chosen to handle my finances differently and to stay on top of my credit. After listening to this presentation, I urge you to assess your debt and your finances. With the troubled economy today, it is very important to know what debt is, what the causes and warning signs of debt are, what credit debt you should be looking for, and the consequences of revolving credit debt. Lastly, you should know what you can do to use your credit responsibly. First, let's discuss what debt is. Debt is defined by the Webster Dictionary as something owed or a state of owing. Consumer debt can be incurred in 3 ways. Real estate loans are borrowed or money used to purchase land or a home. Non-revolving credit is used for automobiles, education, and other fixed amount loans. The one we'll be most focused on, revolving credit, which is most commonly used, is in the form of credit cards. The opposite of debt is credit, and yet the two can never be separated. Credit is Latin for he believes, which means that when a person loans money, it is in the expectation that the borrower will repay them, usually at a profit. Debt and credit are 2 elements of the same thing, deferred payments. The big difference among the two is that debt is a burden to the person who owes it, but an advantage to the creditor. Next, you need to know what the causes and warning signs that you are getting into trouble with credit debt and its consequences. Credit is very easy to obtain. Interest-only loans allow families to purchase larger homes than they can afford. Credit cards enable people to spend after they have depleted their income. Credit cards bombards us every day. In 2009, there were over 6 billion offers mailed off. This averages to 6 per household. A problem with revolving credit is it allows impulsive buying. Consumers no longer have to save for a wanted purchase. The average person now has 7 credit cards he or she can pull out to charge the wanted goods on. Here are some of many consequences of being financially overextended. There are several problems with making minimum payments on revolving credit balances. One being that it takes you years to pay off the interest. A friend of mine has a credit card with a very low credit limit, and the card is almost maxed out. Every month, he's only making the minimum payments. The balance of the credit card doesn't ever seem to go down, because the interest is what he's actually paying on, not the principal. It eventually makes saving money for the future nearly impossible. There are also many negative emotional sides of stress for finances. The number 1 cause of divorce is related to poor finances, stated by Jerry Mason. Stress can also be very distracting. Children can suffer from a lack of attention. Stress can also have a negative impact on your health, such as high blood pressure, which can cause heart attacks. You may notice that under stress, you perform poorly in the workplace. You may now be wondering what you can do to use your credit responsibly. Use credit only for worthwhile purchases. This includes housing, education, or investments such as land. Make a budget and stick to it. Also, make a plan to get out of debt if you are overextended. Do not make impulsive purchases. Do not buy anything if you don't have the cash to pay for it right there. Make a budget including your savings if you are out of trouble or just starting out. Plan to save 10% of your income and do not use that savings until you are at retirement age. At retirement age, you will not only have your principal, but also your accrued interest for all those years. Establish credit somehow by applying a secured credit card or possibly a credit card with a low limit. Pay off the balance of your card every month by using small purchases such as a tank of gas or a few grocery items at the store. This will avoid going into a black hole of credit debt. If you are in debt, start by paying off your highest interest rate card first. Once that is paid off, take the payment that you were paying combined with the payment on another card, and so on and so forth until you are out of debt. Plan to save all of the money that was going into your credit card payments once you are out of debt. Now I would like to share a story with you. Growing up, I had a family friend who had an annual income of over $100,000 a year. The family lived in a modest home with 2 children who I often played with growing up. Living within their means should have been a fairly simple matter. However, unknown to the husband, his wife maxed out several credit cards and credit limits, coming to a total of $70,000. Keep in mind, this was all revolving credit. The indebtedness was in her name only, and she was eventually forced to go bankrupt, which was badly affecting her credit. You would think this would have been a life lesson and made her a responsible consumer. But within a couple of years, she was able to start getting new credit cards, obtaining credit at very high interest rates. And again, she got into financial trouble. The children suffered in school, the daughter started partying, all possible side effects of the financial stress on the family. Most people think twice if you're only carrying a certain amount of cash on you before spending it. Next time you're reaching for your wallet, consider how important this purchase is to you. Revolving credit can be the most abused form of debt. It is very easy to overspend, and once the credit starts stacking up, stress becomes a very negative reality. This often affects your relationships with others. In the long term, being financially overextended hinders your ability to save, the consequences following you into your golden years. Please take some time to evaluate your financial situation. If you are having problems with credit, get some help and take control of your future. It is very important to pay attention to your credit score so that you know where you stand with financial institutions. Make sure to stay on top of your finances, whether you are just starting out or already doing well, by saving your money. Do not overextend your credit. Lastly, try to avoid making impulsive purchases unless you have the cash for it.